Ahead on our news live at 7, what are the real costs? Find out how much of your tax dollars are going towards deportations every year. And speaking of tax dollars, find out how much a false arrest and imprisonment of a Ghana man is costing in a wrongful arrest suit. A smoother ride and better days ahead for Gladstone Road commuters. And then in our news at 7:30, we gauge public reaction to the proposed NIB rate hike. Our news live at 7 starts right now. Hello all and welcome to our news live at 7. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'm Jerome Sawyer. We begin with a closer look at the cost of illegal immigration to taxpayers. For starters, $9 million is what it costs to deport immigrants in the last 4.5 years. Our Berthany McDermott gets us started with this report tonight.
Ongoing economic and political turmoil in Haiti having a domino effect on neighboring countries like the Bahamas, which has seen an influx in migrant apprehensions in recent months. The influx means more resources are needed to protect our borders and more money is needed for repatriations. Our news looked at the data and it shows government spends millions annually on repatriations alone. According to Immigration Minister Keith Bell, between July 1, 2022 and April 30th, 2023, $1.9 million was spent on repatriations. While it's unclear how much was spent for 2022 alone, in October, Immigration Director Keturah Ferguson told the Nassau Guardian $2.3 million was spent up to that point. She also revealed $2.4 million was spent in 2021, $1.3 million in 2020, $1.6 million in 2019, and $2.2 million in 2018. That means between 2018 and April 2023, more than $9.4 million was spent on deportation exercises.
And what happens is you appreciate because we don't know when we're going to have an influx. And so you can never really budget for that.
But each year, funds are earmarked for repatriations. Ahead of the 2023-2024 fiscal year, which starts in July 1, $1.9 million is allocated for repatriation. That's the same figure spent on repatriations between July 2022 and April 2023. Should more funds be needed, the department will have to go to Cabinet. In the meantime, the government is seeking international assistance.
I had a meeting yesterday with the United Nations Human Rights Commission. I also had a meeting last week with the International Organization for Migration, and they have sought to partner with us.
While the majority of migrants come from Haiti, officials say other nationalities like Brazilians, Colombians, Dominicans, Ecuadorians, Chinese, Guyanese, and Filipinos also face deportation. Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Thanks much, Berthany. Great reporting there tonight. And yet another story that has implications for taxpayers. A Ghana native wins a $750,000 lawsuit in damages for wrongful arrest. Joseph Amayer came here on vacation and wound up in the hands of immigration officials for almost 7 years. On September 25th, back in 2010, police arrested him after a 2-day stay, detaining him for 5 days at the Central Police Station. The police then unlawfully sent him to the Carmichael Road Detention Center, where he remained until May 16th of 2017. That's when a Supreme Court judge ordered his release. Amayer sued for false imprisonment, assault and battery, and a breach of his constitutional rights. During his detention, he was subjected to beatings by officers who taunted him and told him to go back to Africa. The government admitted liability after fighting the case for 3 years and 7 months. On to some crime news now. 39 kilos of suspected cocaine landing 21 people in police custody. Around 10 last night, officers from the police marine unit were on patrol acting on a tip and intercepted a 30-foot cutter cabin vessel off Saunders Beach. Commissioner of Police Clayton Fernanda confirming illegal immigrants and Bahamians were on board the Bahamian registered vessel.
Ecuadorians, 3 Chinese national, and 3 Bahamian adult males. They were found on board a vessel just west of the harbor. And we believe that it was destined for the U.S. A search was conducted and 32 kilos of cocaine was recovered in a concealed compartment on this vessel.
Well, the $750,000 drug haul coming out of a joint police marine unit, DEA OPBAC, and K-9 unit effort. Everyone found on board is now in police custody.
We believe it was in the same place where known drug traffickers. So you can see the drug traffickers now, they're involved in human trafficking as well. So it's just the same revolving door in the same place. So that matter is pretty much active, and we are working that closely with our U.S. partners.
The Exhume was hammered again today by heavy rain and wind gusts. You remember parts of the island flooded 2 weeks ago in torrential rains. The conditions today clearing after several hours. Island Administrator Donald Roll telling Our News that unfortunately many of those areas still reeling from the previous flooding are again affected.
So sometimes this morning we experience, like I said, heavy rain, and it increases the waterfall tremendously, about at least 2 to 3 inches. We are still experiencing flooding in Farmers Hill, the forest, and what people call Ocean's Edition here in summer.
And speaking of rain, it's time for your first look at the forecast. Meteorologist Ian McKenzie is in the Weather Center tonight. Ian?
Thanks, Jerome, and good evening, Bahamas. Welcome to our first look at weather on the first official day of summer. Currently outside our studios, we're under mostly fair skies with a temperature of 85. Our winds are out of the east-northeast at 8 miles per hour with a feels-like temperature of 83. Current temperatures across our country at this time: 84 in the nation's second city, Freeport, 84 also in Marsh Harbor, Abaco, 86 in Allenstown, Bimini, 85 in Great Harbor Key, Nicholstown, and also in the capital, and 84 in Governor Salby, Lutheran. In the central Bahamas, Camps Bay 86, 85 also in Georgetown and Deadman's Key, Long Island, 84 in Arthurstown, Cat Island, and 81 in the cool spot, Coburn Towns, and Salvador. In the southeast Bahamas, we have 86 in Tonkintown, Ragged Island, Delectable Bay, Acklands, and also 86 in Colonel Hill, Crooked Island, 86 in Abrahams Bay, 87 in Matthewtown, Inagua, and 88 Providenciales, Grand Turks, and Caicos. Taking a first look at our satellite and radar imagery at this time, we still have some moisture streaming across our area, and this is courtesy of that once persistent mid to upper level trough that's now shifted more towards the west. So the clouds have shifted from the northwest Bahamas and are now concentrated across the central islands, while the southeast Bahamas is under that high pressure system that's giving them some fresh, moderate to fresh winds and nice clear skies. That's your first look at weather. Stay tuned. More weather is still to come.
Still to come on Our News tonight, find out how much more you'll be paying for a taxi ride pretty soon. The long-awaited improvements to the Gladstone Road corridor, a lot closer to reality this budgetary period. And later, a story that really hits home to us here at Our News. The Bahamas British Legion presents a special award to our Marlena Leonard for helping to tell the stories of World War II veterans. It's a story you don't want to miss.
Just when Leo was about to buy this useless pair of Hands underwear, he
Well, pretty soon the cost of a cab ride will cost a bit more. Taxi drivers getting a 10% fare increase. That's according to the minister responsible, Jo Beth Colby-Davis. She told Parliament the increase came by way of the Taxi Union Industry Service Improvement Project.
A major component of the project includes an increase of 10% in taxi fares. It was under the last PLP administration that taxi fares were increased, Madam Speaker. And it is this new day PLP again that is raising the fare for the taxi drivers.
That increase coming out of a new partnership between the Ministry of Transport and Housing, the Bahamas Taxicab Union and the Bahamas Hotel and Tourism Association. Taxicab Union has been pushing for quite some time for that increase. Colby-Davis also telling the House that come September, a code of conduct for public service drivers will be enforced.
Breaches to the code of conduct, Madam Speaker, will be subject to a hearing and action by the tribunal. A special app will also be launched very soon for members of the public to provide feedback on drivers. Improvements are also on the way for the jitney industry.
Upgrades for a busy New Providence thoroughfare, which may mean relief for the thousands of commuters who use it. Our Joshua Williams lays out the story in our Work in Progress segment.
Long lines and cramped lanes may be a thing of the past for commuters on Gladstone Road. In his contribution to the 2023-2024 budget debate, Works and Utilities Minister Alfred Sayers gave an update on the major roadway.
The new Gladstone Road will be a dual carriageway. That is 2 lanes for both sides of the traffic, a median in the middle where we would have lights, and they will be resilient lights. On both sides of the road, there will be a 6 feet sidewalk so that pedestrians will be able to traverse the road.
Sayers also revealing new technology that will be used with nearby communities in mind.
Near Jubilee Village, we will put up a sound barrier, just as we see when we travel the highway in the United States, so that the community will be shielded from noise and pollution.
And for those that will be affected, Sayers says stakeholders in the community are on board.
The residents and stakeholders of Gladstone Road are looking forward to this enhancement. They were very complimentary to the upgrade of the existing road, and the final designs, I come into Waterkey, the final designs are about 95% completed.
Reporting for Work in Progress for Our News, I'm Joshua Williams.
When our news comes back from the break, we turn our spotlight to stories making headlines across the world as hope fades in the search for a missing sub lost since Sunday near the wreckage of the Titanic. Plus, Amazon accused of duping Prime customers. If you're a subscriber, definitely want to see this story. And still later, find out how one reporter's passion here at Our News got the attention of the world. This is Our News. Welcome back. We turn our attention now to stories making headlines across the world. U.S. Coast Guard says more noises have been heard in the search for that missing Titanic sub. Captain Jamie Frederick telling reporters they still don't know what the noises are, but teams are still looking in that area. The crews are thought to have less than 20 hours of oxygen left based on a previous estimate. The sub, which has 5 people on board, lost contact with the surface on Sunday.
When you're in the middle of a search and rescue case, you always have hope. That's why we're doing what we do. With respect to the noises specifically, we don't know what they are, to be frank with you. The P3 detected noises. That's why they're up there. That's why they're doing what they're doing. That's why they put sonar buoys in the water.
U.S. regulators approving the sale of chicken made from animal cells. It will allow California companies to offer lab-grown meat to restaurants and eventually supermarkets. The Agriculture Department in the U.S. gave the green light for the firms to see the meat that does not come from, or sell the meat that does not come from slaughtered animals. The aim is to eliminate harming animals and drastically reducing the environmental impact. The U.S. Federal Trade Commission has accused Amazon of tricking customers into signing up for automatically renewing Prime subscriptions and making it difficult to cancel. The consumer rights watchdog made the claims in a lawsuit, saying Amazon attempted to make it difficult for users to opt out. More than 200 million people globally subscribe to Prime Amazon, and Amazon did not comment immediately. Multiple tornadoes touched down in the Florida Panhandle and southern Alabama on Monday. This video capturing the moment a tornado sweeps through Florida. The National Weather Service issued tornado and flood warnings after severe thunderstorms affected that area. And now to the region where St. Kitts and Nevis has moved one step closer to becoming one of the most marijuana-friendly places in the Caribbean. This is parliamentarians there yesterday approved 4 bills regarding and regulating its use of and the possession of marijuana. Prime Minister Terence Drew says the laws specified public places as smoking areas. During his opening presentation on the bill, Drew said, "It's not for me to judge who should smoke or who should not smoke." However, Drew said they must find a way for everyone to coexist. Still to come on Our News, today in history, find out interesting facts about the day that was June 21st. And then on Our News at 7:30, more on that NIB rate hike with reactions inside and outside of Parliament today. And the stars are shining here at RTV as our high flyers are recognized for raising the bar here every day. That's coming up when Our News returns.
A digital wallet that allows merchants and consumers to conduct transactions seamlessly on their cell phones. Our cashless solution is safe, easy, convenient, and designed to make life easier for all. And without Cable Bahamas Business Solutions, it would be impossible to do what we do every day.
I always envisioned Evolve being a cashless business long before COVID-19. Once I found Canoe, I realized they were the perfect fit for my company.
I'm so excited that we're able to offer SOC 2 compliance for our business customers. It means that Cable Bahamas has achieved high levels of certifications to international standards, which allows those customers and their applications to connect securely through our data center, whether it's their business operations or their off-site backup with their cloud solutions and other applications. It means that we all benefit from that network security.
Welcome back to Our News. It's time now to turn our spotlight on events that shaped the day that was June 21st. Take a look. On this day in Bahamian history, in 1907, William Edward Armbruster, a member of the Executive Council and President of the Legislative Council, died at 88. Armbruster served in the House of Assembly for over 20 years. The local historical society notes his father, John, was a loyalist who came to the colony after the American War of Independence. In 2012, Our News reported on claims of victimization at Urban Renewal. Nearly 100 New Providence and Grand Bahama workers were given their walking papers.
Your political affiliation should have nothing to do with your work performance and the way that you perform, because we live in a democratic society.
The reality is we were never given any kind of warning. When the police came in to send us, we knew that they were coming based on what we hear in the news media.
Bread was taken away out of their mouths, and these people have children. These people have grandchildren that depend on the salaries of the Urban Renewal Program.
A year later, in 2013, then Commissioner of Police Alison Greenslade voiced concern over the number of accused murderers roaming freely after police arrest and arraignment. Then, National Security Minister, the late Dr. Bernard Nottage, reported that 354 murder accused were given bail over 6 years.
I've said since I took office that if a young man or woman in our community causes significant harm and grief to our people, and we were to make an intervention and arrest that person, take them before a court of law, we would not like to see that same person in a short space of time back in the community.
In 2014, construction on a $39 million port started in North Abaco with a groundbreaking ceremony by then Works Minister and Deputy Prime Minister Philip Davis. He promised a facility on nearly 4 dozen acres of land of environmentally sustainable work.
Environmental assessments have been done. They have done all the geotechnical and hydrographic works that's necessary, and an environmental management plan is already in place.
Then on June 21st, 2015, cabinet ministers and supporters of the Progressive Liberal Party defending the party leadership following the resignation of Fort Charlotte MP Dr. Andre Rawlins from the PLP. Damian Gomez was the Minister of State for Legal Affairs.
The PLP is not a convenience. For people who want to be in and out, that's entirely up to them.
In 2016, the man convicted of murdering businessman Kurt McCartney was sentenced to more than 4 decades in prison, while his ex-girlfriend would get a fraction of that time behind bars. The former couple, Thorne Edwards and Lindira Curry, showed no emotion.
Considering the offense, considering that, this is a life that has been lost, I think it's a very fair sentence.
The court gave Mr. Edwards 45 years. On the surface, that does not appear to be proportionate, and we will ask the Court of Appeal to review that.
And in 2018, fired Hotel Corporation Chairman Frederick McAlpine fired back at then Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis, who told reporters his obligations under the Westminster system of governance, forcing him to fire 3 MPs who voted against the increase in VAT. McAlpine questioned what happened to that obligation when Dr. Minnis misled Parliament on the real date the Oban Heads of Agreement was signed.
The Westminster system should be followed for all, not just when it's convenient to be used.
3 years later, in 2021, Dr. Minnis announcing several changes to the COVID-19 emergency orders, including shortened curfew hours and additional perks for those who were fully vaccinated.
One of the biggest announcements the Prime Minister made during his communication today was the lifting of some restrictions, including the extension of curfews across the Bahamas.
On New Providence and Abaco, the daily curfew will move to 11 p.m. to 5 a.m., while Grand Bahama's curfew is now midnight to 5 a.m.
And finally, in 2022, Prime Minister Philip Davis wrapped up a full day of activities at the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Kigali, Rwanda. He was a featured guest at a major business forum while also speaking to the Bahamian media on issues he intended on bringing to the CHOGM floor.
We have our work cut out for us as leaders. We have to design businesses and innovations to ensure that we are making ready our young people for the work that's going to be available for the next generation.
And finally, our news and our very own Marlena Leonard honored with special awards from the British Legion Bahamas branch this morning for her ongoing coverage of the non-profit organization during Remembrance Season. The British Legion Bahamas branch cares about and for our surviving Bahamian World War II veterans as well as their widows. Marlena began a series of stories on the British Legion last year, giving viewers a unique perspective on the global nonprofit. Their chairman, Adina Munro-Charlo, tells how a recent story done by Marlena went viral.
She did the unveiling 4 weeks ago and it went viral. How did I know it went viral? My bosses in the UK, the British Legion International, they wrote me an email from the president saying that excellent work in the Bahamas. We got this clip from the British Legion Jamaica. Wow. And they circulated the clip throughout the entire world. And so this one little clip she did went viral, and now they're seeing the work that we're doing here with our veterans and widows here in the Bahamas.
Well, Chief Alive Officer John Gomez says these stories are part of the community-focused direction of our news. He says knowing the good that happens in our society can help shape the country.
Our news is more than talking about the terrible things and pleasant things that happens in society, right? And so I've challenged Jerome and the rest of the team with coming up with ideas in terms of things that touch the society, community, but people can identify with and really feel good about. And so I commend yourselves in terms of what you all are doing, the work that you all are doing. And kudos to Marlena for picking up the story and running with it and telling the story so many people, as you said, is going viral. And so that's so important in terms of the impact that stories of this type have on the community and the country at large.
Of course, special congratulations to Marlena and the folks who helped to work on the pieces she's been doing for the Bahamas British Legion. Now, to watch that story again and for all of today's top stories, visit ournews.bs. That does it for our news at 7. Joining us now is our Italia Hall with the latest headlines. Italia, what a day of celebration. I know you've got a special story coming up as well. So proud of Marlena. What an exciting day to be at our news.
Of course. It's so great to be a part of this great team. Thanks so much, Jerome. Well, we are following that NIB rate increase that's expected to come twice a year and how the Ring security system could keep you and your family safe. Here are your latest headlines.
The first of many new tonight on Our News Live at 7:30. Your NIB rate set to increase every 2 years. We have reaction. Also, a new process set to come on stream for vehicle inspections across the country soon. The Transport Minister speaks. Plus, why the Court of Appeal has denied a bail request for a man awaiting trial in a murder conspiracy plot. And later, Ring for security. And a Live executive shares the benefits of Ring and how the devices can secure your home or business. Our News Live at 7:30 starts in a moment.
If new, Heineken Silver was a riveting Viking saga.
Lars the 12th, your family tortured my first wife and stole my second favorite goat. Now you want to marry my daughter. Okay.
All the taste, no bitter endings. Smooth, fresh, silver.
Welcome to our news and thank you for joining us. I'm Natalia Hall. People are sounding off about the upcoming NIB rate increases after it was confirmed that the 1.5% rate increase will be coming next year will be the first of many. Our Marlena Leonard has reaction.
This government is committed to preserving NIB for future generations. On June 6, the Prime Minister issued a press release to advise the public that a contribution rate increase would be implemented in July of 2024. The rate increase will be shared equally between the employer and the employee.
That's Minister of State in the Office of the Prime Minister with responsibility for NIB, Miles Larota, announcing the upcoming increases to NIB rates. The first increase of 1.5% will take effect on July 1st of next year, and it's said the incremental increases will continue every 2 years after that for the foreseeable future. We polled our social media audience for their opinions on the increase, with an overwhelming majority being against the rate hike. 80% of voters said they disagreed that the rate for national insurance should increase every 2 years. But in person, those we spoke to felt differently.
I wouldn't mind because I guess I'll be paid more and I won't have to put in anymore. So I guess it benefits me.
Yeah, to me, should have been going up long time, especially for the senior citizens. You go in the store, you go with $50 or $100, you get two things. And you want to know really what's going on, and the thing's so expensive. Cost of living is expensive in the Bahamas.
Well, I feel that the national insurance scheme has been a very beneficial scheme for the entire country, and the rates have not gone up for a long time. Everything else has gone up. I think we have to be prepared to go up, and at small intervals. I think that will be palatable for most people, and I just believe that we have to be prepared for it.
Everything costs more, people living longer, you need more benefits, so you have to go up.
Do you think there could have been any other alternative?
No, money is the answer to everything. Everything costs more, so you have to pay more.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Marlena Leonard.
All right, well, Leader of the Opposition Michael Pintard making his budget contribution this afternoon. Pintard says this administration has been discussing the future of the National Insurance Board and its funds for some time now. Yet he believes the latest announcement of a rate hike leaves a lot unanswered.
But there was no discussion, Madam Speaker, about how will we stop fraud in NIB. How will we collect the funds from those business persons who, Madam Speaker, have already collected money from employees and have not repatriated it to the government? How will we enforce the law around NIB? When will government ministries pay back the money that they borrow? Madam Speaker, these are the kinds of things people who are being asked to dig deeper in their pocket, they want to know. I think reasonable people understand we have to save NIB, and that's what we support saving it.
Pintard says there must be a holistic plan as it relates to NIB, and he made these suggestions going forward.
The Prime Minister should cancel the appointment of any minister, chairman, ambassador, or consultant who has failed to eliminate their or their company's NIB arrears, despite officials attempting to settle the matter. 2, the Prime Minister should highlight the steps his administration intends to take to ensure timely provision of benefits. NIB should be bullish in collecting funds from employees who are holding out on turning their employees' money over.
More disturbing details as it relates to the sexual assault of an 83-year-old woman on Monday. The victim was beaten before being sexually assaulted in her Market Street home. A 19-year-old man is presently in police custody, but according to Commissioner of Police Clayton Fernandez, the teen is being questioned for other sexual offenses.
He is being monitored and he is on bail for similar offense. He is assisting police with that investigation. Also, the matter that occurred last week, Friday, where a young lady was sexually assaulted in the Davis Street area. He is also assisting police with that investigation. When detectives went to his home, jewelries that were taken from that incident was located and identified by the victim. So we know that we are on the right track.
Now Fernandez pleading for the legal system to do more to keep repeat offenders behind bars.
This is an individual who should not have been on bail because he went back in his old ways. And I'm pleading for the system. We need to get it right because it's the same revolving door. We see the same individuals continue to offend.
Gunman opened fire on a car this morning, and while no one was injured, police needed help finding a suspect. Police say the incident happened shortly after 7 a.m. near Hutchison Street off Meadow Street. That's when the suspect, who was dressed in dark clothing, fired shots at a park-grade Toyota Passo, causing extensive damage. If you have any information that can assist police with their investigations, you are asked to call the Criminal Investigations Department at telephone numbers 502-9991 or 502-9992. The Court of Appeal has rejected a bail bid for a man awaiting trial for a murder conspiracy plot. The appellate court ruled today that Stephon Davis will remain behind bars until he's tried for his alleged involvement in a plot to murder Jason Whitfield, a senior clerk at the passport office. Whitfield was shot to death inside his government-assigned car on December 3rd. Police later charged Davis and his cousin, Corporal Darren Davis, with planning the murder. To date, no one has been charged with committing the murder. Officer Davis was granted $30,000 bail on December 20, 2022. However, his cousin, who was on bail for 2 separate murders, was refused bail on the grounds that he was a threat to public safety. And motorists will be subject to a new vehicle inspection process come next May. We'll tell you all you need to know in just a moment. But first, we check in with meteorologist Ian McKenzie, who is in the Weather Center with your first look at weather. Ian?
Thanks, Natalia, and good evening, Bahamas. Here's your first look at weather. Currently outside our studios, we're under mostly fair skies with a temperature of 85. Our winds are out of the east-northeast at 8 miles per hour with a feels-like temperature of 80. Taking a look at our satellite radar imagery at this time, we have cloudiness that was once predominantly across the northwest Bahamas. Now it's shifted across the central Bahamas, all courtesy of a mid to upper level trough that's now retrogressed more towards the west of our area, while the southeast Bahamas is under high pressure system. That's your first look at weather. Stay tuned for extended forecasts and our tropical weather outlook.
Still to come on our news, a disaster management expert shares the billion-dollar price tag of recent hurricanes and what we should be doing to mitigate costs. Plus, finding an inexpensive way to secure your home or business. And a live executive says the answer is Ring, how the products can help keep you safe. And later, excellence on display. Several employees of RTV recognized for their hard work and dedication when our news returns.
Just when
A new inspection process will be implemented in May 2024. Transport Minister Jobette Colby-Davis telling parliamentarians the process will move away from a manual inspection process to an automated system.
The new inspection regime will not inconvenience or prohibit vehicles from being on the road. Rather, the process is a new process, will be designed to ensure that our vehicles are safe and they are road worthy. Here you can see where the cars will drive through a mobile testing unit. This is how it looks. And on the ground, what you have is the testing of your shocks, your wheel alignment, your brakes. This is done in minutes.
All right, well, the Inter-American Development Bank conducted a study that showed the impact of the last 4 major hurricanes in the Bahamas. Dr. Trevor Johnson, who works for the IDB, says the country lost some $4 billion due to those major storms.
When we see the impacts and the needs that arise from these events, they are because we put people, places, and property in very risk-prone and vulnerable areas. So the beauty of disaster management is that we can ensure that we reduce this risk. Disaster management has now shifted from a preparedness and response focus to how do we reduce risk? How do we ensure that we mitigate against future events? And when we recover, we don't bounce back, but we bounce forward.
And as it relates to climate change, he says government has been strong in its approach. Well, a number of videos have gone viral this week showing some of the benefits of the Ring doorbell. The device can provide 24-hour monitoring services for homes and businesses. Now, earlier this year, Alive became the official distributor of Ring products in the Bahamas. Vice President of Consumer Solutions and Marketing, Amber Carey, says there have been a lot of positive responses. There are several devices you can use to help monitor your home, like the Ring doorbell, outdoor and indoor cameras.
We've had instances where we've had nurses and doctors who work night shifts, or just people that work night shifts that want to check their home before they come home and monitoring what's happening. Parents that use it to make sure that the kids are coming and going. So there's a number of benefits to these kind of products that are just go beyond home security. They just allow you to know what's happening in and outside your home.
Tapping into their spirituality. When our news comes back from the break, hear about the church service that's helping keep police officers grounded.
An injured baseball star is making his way back to the diamond, and a big road race is coming up this weekend. Don't go anywhere. Our Sports is next.
And promoting excellence, 8 employees of RTV recognized for their efforts over the last quarter. We'll introduce you to the team when our news returns.
At Doctors Hospital, our lamp just got brighter. The Loyalty Advantage membership program now has 3 unique plans to choose from. From Lamp Prepaid with free prime care visits and service line discounts, Lamp Insured with copay waivers and 0 upfront collections at the ER and inpatient services, or our new Lamp Access, a free plan that offers 10% off labs, pharmacy, and imaging. Lamp has a plan for everyone. To sign up, visit our website or give us a call. Doctors Hospital, trusted and best care now.
Today's sports update is sponsored by Michelob Ultra, distributed in the Bahamas by Jimmy's Wines and Spirits.
This is our news. Welcome back. A baseball superstar embarks on a comeback from an injury. And we talked to the organizer of a road race happening this weekend with the goal of giving back to the community. Here's Tej Adderley with a check on sports. Tej?
Thanks, Italia. The start of Jazz Chisholm's season was derailed by a turf toe injury. Now the baseball star is getting ready to return to the field. It's safe to say that Jazz Chisholm's 2023 season got off to a rough start. He was mired in a hitting slump before hurting his foot running into a wall, which put him on the shelf for over a month. Well, now he's going to get his chance to turn things around. It was announced this week that Jazz was assigned to Marlins AAA affiliate Jacksonville to get rehab reps. Jazz was hitting .229 with 7 home runs and 14 steals before the injury. Hopefully he can improve on these numbers when he comes back. Now, the Marlins expect for Jazz to be in AAA for a week before he's back with the big team. Hopefully, he can get to speed in that span. Moving on to local events, J Fitness's 5K event, 5K the JUA, is happening this weekend. We had the chance to speak to Donovan J. Roll about this road race with the community component.
It's a 5K run with some surprises on the road.
That's Donovan J. Roll, organizer of 5K the JUA, an event happening this Saturday, June 24th. But this is more than a simple fun run.
We're going to have some surprises. We know these things need to be fun, so you're going to have a good time on the race. You're going to have a good time post-race in the Athletes Village. You know, we're going to have the 360 machine. We're going to have prizes for you to collect. So we just wanted, to come and have a good time to this family event.
This is the 6th edition of this event. Proceeds raised will aid the Reach Foundation, and there's also a shoe drive.
We're going to be at St. Augustine's College, and to let everyone know we're going to use the compound, so we're not going to leave the area of St. Augustine's. We're going to just make use of the terrain, and we all know if you went to Sauk, there's some little hills, there might be some steps, there might be 1 or 2 little things we have to do. We start promptly at 6:30 a.m., and that's this Saturday, June 24th.
Now, once again, this event is this Saturday, June 24th at St. Augustine's at 6:30 a.m. They're giving out a ton of prizes, and there's some really cool medals. So if you're a fitness buff or you just want to get out and walk around, you should definitely check that out. That's all for sports today. I'm Tej Adderley.
Still ahead on our news tonight, the Our Champion Quarterly Awards were held today. Hear why employees of our TV say appreciation goes a long way. And the rain is gone, the sun is out. Meteorologist Ian McKenzie is back with your midweek extended weather forecast. Stay with us.
An ice-cold Michelob Ultra, courtesy of Saw Your Airball.
Mornings brighter with Our News This Morning. Live from Margaritaville in downtown Nassau. Starting July 3rd to 7th, the team you already trust helps start your day informed and inspired. Join us from 6:30 a.m. for the latest headlines, riveting stories, and a view of the world that matters to you. Don't forget to set your alarms. Our News This Morning on Channel 212 and the Our News Bahamas Facebook page.
Welcome back to our news. The sun was out today, but what type of weather conditions can we expect tomorrow and for the rest of the work week? Ian is back in the Weather Center with more. Ian?
Thanks, Natalia, and good evening, Bahamas. We now take a look at our extended forecast along with our tropical weather outlook. In the tropics right now, we still have Tropical Storm Brett with speeds packing up to 65 miles per hour as it races towards the west at 15 miles per hour. They have watches and warnings now in place for Dominica, St. Martinique, also Barbados, and St. Lucia. Right behind, on the heels of Brett, we have Invest 93L, and that system is being monitored. They had a reconnaissance aircraft that ran out and had to go back, so we'll check up on it tomorrow to see what's going on with that storm, but we're going to keep an eye on that because it is expected to turn into a tropical depression in a day or two. Brett is expected to race towards the west into the Caribbean Sea, where it is expected to dissipate through the weekend. Closer to home, we still have some moisture across the central Bahamas, courtesy of that mid to upper level trough that's retrogressed more to the west of our area, while in the southeast Bahamas, we have more high pressure dominating that area, stable conditions. In the boating forecast for the northwest and central Bahamas, winds will be southerly 10 to 15 knots, falling light and variable at times. Your seas will be running 1 to 3 feet, but up to 2 to 4 feet offshore, and you can expect a high tide tonight at 11:07 p.m. For the southeast Bahamas, we have a small craft caution in effect for you boaters, while for you swimmers, we're asking you to exercise caution in those rip currents. Winds will be east to southeast at 15 to 20 knots, with seas running 4 to 7 feet over the ocean. Here's a look at your national forecast. And in your extended forecast, we have showers and thunderstorms mainly during the afternoon hours tomorrow. Showers staying in our forecast through early next week, while the highs will be getting up to those upper 80s, low 90s at times, courtesy of those clouds that are going to hang around. So it's going to keep things tapered a bit, while the low temperature is going to be muggy, looking at the upper 70s, low 80s. That's your first look, or rather your final look at weather. Oh man, it's been a long day. Make it a great evening, everyone.
All right, thanks so much, Ian. Well, several employees given kudos for their exceptional work at RTV and Our News today. Recognized as our champions for the first quarter of 2023, Kriston Saunders was honored for January. Rayshard Ferguson was named Employee of the Month for March. I was also named our champion for February, while our Jasmine Brown is our Employee of the Quarter.
It feels weird being on the other side of the camera today, but it's an honor to be recognized for my efforts. You know, I've been with the company for about a year now, and it's a lot of work that goes into this on a daily basis. So to know that my colleagues and my managers, they're watching, it feels good to be appreciated for my efforts.
Lucky enough, I'm fortunate enough to have my career aspirations and my life goals all moving along in the same vehicles.
Executive producer for Our TV and Our News, Jerome Sawyer.
It allows us to say thank you sometimes to people who are working in a thankless job, because this job is so intense, because we're always at it. Sometimes it's just hard to feel appreciated. So this is our way of saying thank you for the great job that you're doing and rewarding them. And just the whole event brings us all together to honor each other.
All right, and congrats again to all of the recipients. And to see that story again, it's available now on ournews.bs. And with that, we thank you for joining us for Our News tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Natalia Hall. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great evening.